'Cause there's a place so amazing with all the things I really don't know. Yeah, I've been driving all night, looking for the right turn to make all the change you made. If you really want the right, just hold on tight.
All the things you can learn in short space, but the time's still running, don't let it waste. Yeah, you can learn with me, 'cause when I'm reading, oh, it's so amazing, so amazing. I flip the page, I see you written down again and again. I'm humble and I'm walking in, I'm hoping that if you will today, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, follow me, yeah, follow me, yeah, to the Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, yeah, to the Saturday. Then we go and keep it holy and make it to the next day. Do you know what today is? It's our hidden history. All the things you can learn in short space, but the time's still running, don't let it waste. Yeah, you can learn with me, 'cause when I'm reading, oh, it's so amazing, so amazing. I flip the page, I see you written down again and again. I'm humble and I'm walking in, I'm hoping that if you will today, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, follow me, yeah, follow me, yeah, to the Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, yeah, to the Saturday. Then we go and keep it holy and make it to the next day. Do you know what today is? It's our hidden history.
Just hold on tight, and I'll take you to the place to be. Do you know what today is?
It's our hidden history. Our hidden history.
Do you know what today is?
Our hidden history.
Tell me, do you know?
Time running, it's a maze. All the things you can learn in short space, but the time's still running, don't let it waste. Yeah, you can learn with me, cause when I read it, oh, it's so amazing. So amazing. I flip the page, I see you written down again and again. I'm humble and I'm walking in, I'm hoping that if you hear the day,
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, follow me, yeah, 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 yeah. Follow me, yeah, to the Sabbath, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, follow me, yeah, yeah, to the Sabbath day. Then we go and keep it holy, we make it to the next day. Do you know what today is?
it's our hidden
Do you know what today is? Tell me, do you know?
Time running, it's a maze. All the things you can learn in short space, but the time's still running, don't let it waste. Yeah, you can learn with me, cause when I read it, oh, it's so amazing. So amazing. I flip the page, I see you written down again and again. I'm humming and I'm walking in, I'm hoping that if you
Hey, shalom, shalom, Most High in Christ bless. This is Officer Jez. I have a whole new panel here.
All the praise.
All praises, all praises. Hey, we got
Officer Shatiel.
Officer Manny.
Officer Manny
Oh, also y'all can.
Officer Abaddon.
and Officer Abaddon, all right? You are now tuned into
Our Hidden History Radio Show.
Hey. All right, so all praises, all praises. First, I would like to give a shout out to the leadership, to the bishop, for that wonderful, wonderful class last night. It's amazing how the leadership can put the scriptures together, man. How he put Job and how Job life correlated with our life, with Israel's life. All right, so the way the bishop brought it out, like he always do, bring that fire. So it behooves us to listen to the leadership as you know, they are guiding us through these times right now. Hey, give me Isaiah 33 and 6. Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6, man.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 33 and verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times.
So the Bible says wisdom and knowledge is going to be the stability of our times. All right? Meaning what? Wisdom and knowledge is what? Keeping God's laws. Keeping these commandments is going to be the stability. That's what's going to keep us stable-minded in these times that we're living in right now. All right? Because we're living in some wicked, wicked behind times, man. All right? And it's only going to get worse. All right? So read it again from the top.
And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. And strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure.
So how would you know wisdom and knowledge would be the stability of our times? Why? Because guess what? The Most High would send back leaders. The Most High would send back leaders to what? To guide us and to keep us stabilized in these times. By what? Pushing and telling us to keep God's laws. Okay? So he would send back special leaders, all right, to guide us in these scriptures, all right? So all praises to the Most High for that thing, all right? Now, let's get into class. So last week we touched on Herod, okay, how he became the king of Judea. All right, we touched on Herod, how he became the king of Judea, and we also went into Augustus Caesar. So we're going to do a little recap, and we're going to go back and bring that page up about Herod. Real quick, page 531, Caesar and Christ.
Herod the Great. His character was typical of an age that had produced so many men of intellect without morals, ability without scruple, and courage without honor.
Read.
He was, in his lesser way, the Augustus of Judea. Like Augustus, he overlaid the chaos of freedom with dictatorial order, beautified his capital with Greek architecture and sculpture.
Right, so Herod ruled over us. He had a dictatorial attitude, a dictatorial spirit. He was a tyrant. That's who Herod was. Read.
Enlarged his realm, made it prosper, achieved more by subtlety than by arms.
So when it says he enlarged his realm, meaning what? Because why? He was the king over Judea. He was the king over our land. So he enlarged that realm. He tried to beautify Jerusalem. Okay, go ahead.
Married widely, was broken by the treachery of his offspring, and knew every good fortune but happiness.
Read.
Josephus describes him as a man of great physical bravery and skill, a perfect marksman with arrow and javelin, a mighty hunter who in one day caught 40 wild beasts, and such a warrior as could not be withstood. He must have added some charm of personality to these qualities, for he was always able to outtalk or outbribe the enemies who sought to discredit him with Antony, Cleopatra, or Octavian.
Right. Get to the next page. Bring up Augustus Caesar. Okay. Read that.
Caesar Augustus, born Gaius Octavius, 23 September 63 BC to 19 August AD 14, also known as Octavian.
So Caesar Augustus, his name was also Octavian. Go ahead.
Was the first Roman emperor.
So he was not the first Roman emperor. As the Bible says, Julius Caesar was the first Roman emperor. Okay. Augustus Caesar was the second. He was the second Roman emperor. Read.
He reigned from 27 BC until his death in AD 14. He is known for being the founder of the Roman Principate, which is the first phase of the Roman Empire.
So that's why they're saying that he's the first Roman emperor. Okay, because it says which is the first phase. He's known as the what? Read that part again.
He is known for being the founder of the Roman Principate.
Read.
Which is the first phase of the Roman Empire.
So because of the Roman Principate, which is the first phase of the Roman Empire, that's why they're trying to say that he is the first Roman emperor. But that's not the case. All right, read on.
And is considered one of the greatest leaders in human history. The reign of Augustus initiated an imperial cult as well as an era associated with imperial peace.
So his reign started the whole imperial cult. Okay, where they worshiping. Click on imperial cult real quick. Click that. Read that.
The Roman imperial cult identified emperors and some members of the families with the divinely sanctioned authority.
Right. So they called themselves what? That they were gods. Just like back in ancient Egypt. Okay, how ancient Egyptians worshiped themselves as gods. Okay. So now here we go. Augustus Caesar, that's what he started implementing into when he became Caesar. Started worshiping himself as a god. Read.
Divinely sanctioned authority, auctoritas of the Roman state.
Uh-huh.
Its framework was based on Roman and Greek precedents and was formulated during the early principate of Augustus. It was rapidly established throughout the empire and its provinces with marked local variations in its reception and expression.
All right, you can get out of that. Now, get me the article I sent on Augustus Caesar. The Roman, matter of fact, no. Let's get Second Edges real quick. Second Edges, chapter 12, verse 15. Second Edges 12, 15. Let me, hold on.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12 and verse 15.
Read.
Whereof the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any of the 12. And
So this is going into the 12 feathers. The 12 feathers, which are known as the 12 Caesars. Okay? I'm going to say it again. The 12 feathers, which are known as the 12 Caesars. All right? So we went into the first feather. The first feather is who? Julius Caesar. Now we entered into the second. Okay, read that again.
whereof the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any of the 12.
So the second Caesar, which is Augustus, shall begin to reign and have more time than any other of the 12. Okay? Now, give me that article real quick.
Caesar Augustus, the Roman Empire's longest serving emperor.
So Caesar Augustus, the longest reigning, okay, Caesar, bring it back up. Why are you moving it? What's going on? Read that again.
Caesar Augustus, the Roman Empire's longest serving emperor.
So Caesar Augustus was the empire's longest serving emperor. You'll go down. Y'all keep playing with this Bible, man. Keep playing with this Bible. Let's read.
Ancient Rome's longest serving emperor is Augustus.
So just like the Bible said, read that again now. In 2nd Ezra 12:15.
2nd Ezra chapter 12 and verse 15. Whereof the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any of the 12.
Now read, go back to the article.
Ancient Rome's longest serving emperor is Augustus.
So ancient Rome longest serving emperor is Augustus Caesar, the second Caesar. Just like the Bible says, just like the prophecy said in 2nd Ezra. Okay, this Bible is a true book. Read on.
Who is also the empire's first emperor following the death of Julius Caesar in 44 BC.
So it says, who is also the empire's first emperor following the death of Julius Caesar. Okay, but Julius Caesar is the first. Okay, from there, we could drop that. Now, what I want to do is go. So what we're going to do, we're going to get into what was the things that was going on during the birth of Christ. All right, because we're starting to lead into the birth of Christ. So we're going to get into what was happening around the time Christ came on the scene. Okay, so give me the page, History of the Christian Church. No, actually, I'm skipping something. Give me Luke 2:1. I'm skipping something. Yeah, give me Luke chapter 2, verse 1.
The book of Luke, chapter 2 and verse 1.
Let me get there real quick.
Yes, sir.
Hey, if y'all got anything to add, just say something. Read.
Luke chapter 2 and verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was the first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, everyone into his own city.
So, what we want to focus on, it says, and it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. You know what that translates to? A census. All the world had to be taxed. If all the world got to be taxed, there's got to be a census. How else you going to tax them? You got to find out how many people you have that you're going to be taxing, right? Read on. Read it from verse 1 again.
Verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus
Read.
that all the world should be taxed.
So everyone in the Roman province throughout the world had to be taxed. Read.
And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria.
Read.
And all went to be taxed, everyone into his own city.
So everyone went to be taxed, everyone into his own city. Okay. So while I'm bringing this out, I wanted to go into what these things that Caesar Augustus was implementing around the time of Christ's birth. All right. So give me the article about the census. Let me see. Go down. That it? Yes. Read that.
Census, taking in the ancient world. The census is older than the Chinese, Egyptian, Greek, and Roman civilizations, dating back to the Babylonians in 4000 BC.
So every captivity that we were in, all these nations took a census. All these nations had a census. All right. To what? To find out how many of us is it. That's the only reason why they're doing it. Like today in America. Same thing. They wanted us. They want a census to get a head count of how many, to keep track of us. That's what they're doing. All right, read that.
The census is older than the Chinese, Egyptian, Greek, and Roman civilizations, dating back to the Babylonians in 4000 BC, who used a census as an essential guide to how much food they needed to find for each member of the population. Evidence suggests that they...
Wait, read that part again.
The census is older than the Chinese, Egyptian, Greek, and Roman civilizations, dating back to the Babylonians in 4000 BC, who used a census as an essential guide to how much food they needed to find for each member of the population.
Now, come on, that's not the real reason for a census. Right. So you can find food for everybody? Right. What are we doing here? Read on.
Evidence suggests that they noted census records on clay tiles.
So back then, they put census records on clay tiles. Go ahead.
An example is held by the British Museum.
Read.
From around 2500 BC, the Egyptians used censuses to work out the scale of the labor force they would need to build their pyramids.
So that's more like it, or why you would have a census. Okay, so it says from around 2500 BC, the Egyptians used censuses to work out the scale of the labor force they would need to build their pyramids. Read on.
AKA slaves.
Right, right. You keeping track of your slaves. Go ahead.
They also used the information to plan how they would share out the land after the annual flooding of the Nile.
Right. Give me Exodus chapter 1. Exodus chapter 1. You going when have any census been done to keep up with let's find food for the people? Right. Never. Read that.
Exodus chapter 1 and verse 12.
Verse 7. No,
verse 7.
Verse 7. Let me see.
Verse 7.
Start at verse 7.
Yes, sir. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them.
Read.
Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that, when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
Read verse 9 again.
Verse 9. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
How did he know that? How did the Pharaoh know that we were more and mightier than him? Just like they do today, they put out a census. They tally up how many of us it is. And they know we always the majority, even though they classify us as the minority. They know we the majority. But in order to do that, they put out a census I think they put out a census every 10 years. In America, they put out a census every 10 years. And I read somewhere back in the Roman, ancient Rome, they did it every 5 years. Okay? So it's every 5 years. But the only way that Pharaoh knew that we were more and mightier than him, than his people, is the fact that they put out a census. Okay? So read that again.
Verse 9. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that, when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
Right, now go back to the article. My bad, I'm going to go back to the article. Read that.
From around 2500 BC, the Egyptians used censuses to work out the scale of the labor force they would need to build their pyramids. They also used the information to plan how they would share out the land after the annual flooding of the Nile.
Right. All right. So now, drop that. Give me the other article on the census for ancient Rome. Ancient Rome. Blow it up. All right, read that.
Population censuses and birth control in ancient Rome.
So this is what was going on in ancient Rome. You had population, census, and birth control in ancient Rome. Read.
Population of ancient Rome. Rome was the first city to have 1 million people by AD 1. The world population was around 170 million at the time of the birth of Jesus. In AD 100, it has risen to about 180 million. By 190, it rose to 190 million. 4/5 of the world's population lived under the Roman, Chinese, Han, and India Gupta empires. Rome regularly took a census. This was used to figure out the status of citizens and figure out taxes, budgets, and troop strength.
Read that part again.
Rome regularly took a census.
So Rome regularly took a census. They regularly kept a census. Read.
This was used to figure out the status of citizens.
So the census was used to figure out the status of the citizens. Read.
And figure out taxes.
And figure out taxes. We just read that, right? Go ahead.
Budgets. And troop strength.
Right. All right. Now, drop that. Give me the next order. That's the one I wanted. All the way at the bottom. All the way at the bottom. At the very bottom. Come on. Right there. Read that.
The Romans conducted censuses every 5 years.
So, the Romans, they conducted their census every 5 years. Read.
Calling upon every man and his family to return to his place of birth to be counted in order to keep track of the population.
So now we have some understanding of why Joseph was returning back to where? Bethlehem.
Right.
Read that again. Go back to the scriptures real quick.
Yes, sir. The book of Luke, chapter 1 and verse 3.
Wait, hold on. Luke chapter 2.
Sorry, Luke chapter 2 and verse... Let me start verse 3.
Start verse 1 again.
Verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was the governor of Syria. Mm-hmm. And all went to be taxed, every one into his own city.
Now go back to the article.
The Romans conducted censuses every 5 years.
Now, remember what I said about America. America conducted their census every 10 years. Now, the census for America started in 1790. And they still conducting it now. Now it's just on. Now the census in America, what they did here is they would actually come to your house. They would come to your house and take information on your whole family. All right. Now today it's on the computer. You just put everything in on the computer today. All right. But the census is still being conducted every 10 years. Right. Read.
Calling upon every man and his family to return to his place of birth to be counted in order to keep track of the population.
Right. Now go back to verse 3.
Hey, officer, we got a book on that same thing every 5th year.
Yeah.
They had a...
We have it?
Yeah, it's up there.
Oh, pull it up.
It should be on that group. Keep going. No, keep going.
That's why America is an extension of ancient Rome. Sure. America's an extension of ancient Rome. All right. America is still following the same policies, everything of ancient Rome. They are the Romans.
Yeah, I just sent it.
And there's nothing new under the sun. They do the same thing over and over again.
All the time.
Yep, that's it. It won't be the highlighted portion. It'll be the paragraph above it.
We like to say that, we like to call it history repeats itself, but it's the same spirits coming back doing the same thing. Right? Go ahead.
Joseph and Mary, having their residence at Nazareth, were providentially called to Bethlehem of Judah by the following circumstances.
Judea,
Bethlehem of Judea by the following circumstances. It was customary in the Roman Empire to take a survey or assessment of all persons and estates every 5th year.
They want it, just like they do here in America. When you look at the census here in America, they want everything. They want your family. Do you own the house? Do you the estate? Do you rent?
Your occupation.
Your occupation. How many hours? They want everything. They when I was looking up census here in America, they even go as far as like they want all your children. They want to list all your children. But even if they want a list of the children that's not even there, they want everybody. Oh, he in school? What's his name? They want everybody. Okay, so you couldn't leave nobody out. You had to really include your whole family. All right?
Yeah, I said on that part.
Yeah, even if your son done married and moved on, he would have got reported in 2 places because they wanted a report of him from the father or the father and wife, and then of course his own family. All right, so they ain't want to leave nothing out. Okay, read that again, man. That's heavy.
Joseph and Mary, having their residence at Nazareth, were providentially called to Bethlehem of Judea by the following circumstances. It was customary in the Roman Empire to take a survey or assessment of all persons and estates every 5th year.
Right. Like I said, in America, it's every 10 years. Every 10 years. Okay. So, from there, let's get, hey, do you, the pages of the state of the world during the birth of Christ? So let's get some more on what was happening around the time Christ came on the scene. What was the world like during the Roman Empire around the time Christ came on the scene? Okay, no, that's not it. The history of the Christian church. The older book. With the Roman numerals. Yes. Blow that up. Blow it up.
The history of the Christian church from the birth of Christ to the 18th century.
Very good book. What year?
Scroll down. By William Jones. Scroll all the way down.
Come on.
1824.
So 1824. White eyes only. 1824. Where were we? Slavery. We couldn't read these books. Okay? We could not read these books. Hey, and going back to the census, when we was in slavery, they wanted to know whether we could read or write. They wanted to know everything. Could we read or write? Okay? So, obviously, we could not read during this time period right here. Slavery. All right?
Some brothers can't read now.
Yeah, hey, speaking of that, we have a brother that's back on the panel.
Yes,
Sir. We'd like to welcome back Officer Manny Fresh. Hey, look, you done cut his hair. Yo, Officer, I got a question for you, bro. We're going to get back to the show, man. What made you cut your hair, bro?
It's a sister that I'm proving I'm now betrothed, and because of such, she has a son, so he is now a son of mine.
All praises. So Officer Manny is now betrothed, so a woman made him cut his hair.
You talking about what, Census?
Yeah. Damn.
Thank you, sir.
Yo, nah, it's all good, man. I cut my hair too, man.
Solidarity.
All praise, man. Welcome back to the show, Officer.
All praise. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations, bro.
Thank you.
In the beginning.
Hey, Officer Jez, like you were just talking about slavery, they wanted to know what slaves could, who was educated and everything. It's the same thing they did in Babylon. They wanted to know who knew science and stuff like that with Daniel and the 3 brothers.
Yes. They want to know all of that. Hey, get that.
They did the same with us when they brought us from Africa over here. They took all the wise men. They knew who were the elders and all that.
Right. So those of us that had some type of spiritual insight,
Right.
They separated us, and they did that on purpose. Yep. Because why? They killed them off. All right. They killed those with spiritual insight and know who we were. They got rid of them.
Yep.
Why? Because so they'll go ahead and raise up the ones that don't know nothing. Those of us that don't know anything, they will raise them up. into being ignorant. All right, just like how our people is today, ignorant as hell. All right,
And today they take the smart ones from our community and use it for themselves. Use them for themselves.
Hey, the ones that they watch for the ones that rise up. They watch for the ones that feel like they smart, they real smart. They like, yo, we gotta hurry up and get him because
There's a clip of that. There's a movie.
right, it's a
Yeah, it's a
movie.
movie about
I think Spook sat by the door. I know leadership. I know Bishop brought that out a while back. But those of us that they watch for those that are smart, have some type of talent, and they quickly hurry up and get him out from amongst us. Because why? If they feel as though if they don't, that he's gonna rise up
To be a Messiah.
to be a Messiah.
Yep.
You understand? Well, guess what? They miss one.
That's right.
Miss many too. All right.
You want that, Officer Jess? And Daniel?
Yes, read that.
The book of Daniel, chapter 1 and verse 3. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
Right. So with Daniel the king, he wanted to know, he inquired who was smart amongst us, who had certain knowledge, skills, who was able to had some type of etiquette, morals, some standards amongst us, all right, to be around the king, all right?
They had to make a census.
Right, it had to be a
So
census
they
to
took us in
understand that.
captivity, and then they like started inquiring. All right, who's who? What skills you got to know who to take?
Right.
We got that clip too. It was from Trick Baby.
Nah, we ain't playing nothing.
Nah, yeah,
All praise, I got the clip, man. Watch that on your own.
yeah. I can look
All
it
right?
up. Yeah,
Yeah, don't try to set me up. We got that clip. Come on, man. Why you do that, bro?
try to get you shot down.
Yeah, you trying to get us shut down.
House, wait.
Hey, from there, get me you got the page for me? The Roman numeral, the first one? Let me see. Let me look at that. Blow it up.
State of the world in general.
Oh, go back one page. Go up. I'm sorry. Yeah, go up. Or go down, whatever. First, go to the top. Read the top again. This page is called this chapter is called The State of the World at the Birth of Christ. So meaning what was happening at the time that Christ was born? What was the Roman Empire like? What was the other nations? What were they doing in the Roman Empire during the time of Christ's birth? All right, now go down. Read that.
View of the different systems of Gentile philosophy.
So there was different systems of Gentile philosophies that was upon the earth during the time of Christ's birth. So just like today, the earth was in mass confusion. The earth was in mass confusion with all these different religions and different philosophies that was going on, just like today. Read.
At the time of Christ's appearance upon earth, there were two species of philosophy that generally prevailed throughout the civilized world. The one, that of Greece, the other, what is usually termed the Oriental.
So with Greece, you had the Grecians, you had their philosophy. You had their philosophies and religion. Okay. And then you had the other nations, you had their philosophies and religions. Go ahead.
The philosophy of the Greeks was not confined to that nation, for its principles were embraced by all such of the Romans as aspired to any eminence of wisdom.
That's why we call it the Greco-Roman Empire, because they are the same people. So they just carried on their religions and so forth to the next empire. They're the same people. Go ahead.
The Oriental philosophy prevailed chiefly in Persia, Chaldea, Syria, Egypt, and other Eastern countries.
Right. So in Persia and Chaldea, they were called like the Magi's. All right. They're magicians, they're astronomers and all of that. Right. Go ahead.
Both these species of philosophy were split into various sects. but with this distinction, that those which sprang from the Oriental system all proceeded on one common principle, and of course had many similar tenets, though they might differ as to some particular inferences and opinions. Whilst those to which the philosophy of Greece gave rise were divided in opinion respecting the elements or first principles of wisdom, and were consequently widely separated from each other in the whole course of their discipline.
Right. Read.
The Apostle Paul is generally supposed to have adverted to each of these systems, to that of Greece in Colossians chapter 2, verse 8.
Right. So Paul in Colossians 2 and 8, he tells us to beware of the philosophy. Get that real quick. Colossians chapter 2, verse 8.
Colossians
Read.
chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy.
Yo, what's going on, bro?
Beware.
Beware.
Colossians
Come on,
chapter
man.
2 verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
So Paul says, beware. Paul's warning us, beware lest any man destroy you. The word spoil means destroy through philosophy and lies. Today we have a lot of philosophies and lies that's out there today. Okay? That's destroying our people. All right? So read it again.
Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world.
So after the tradition of men, like holidays, they're all after the tradition of men. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Mother's Day, Father's Day, all these things are after the tradition of men. Okay, where you won't find any of these holidays in the Bible. It's not there. Okay, it's not there at all. So what? There are different philosophies and they're lies. Read on.
After the rudiments of the world.
So these holidays and so forth and philosophies that our people in today are after the rudiments of the world. Read. They are not of God. Read.
And not after Christ.
And not after Christ. Okay. Go back to the page.
The Apostle Paul is generally supposed to have adverted to each of these systems, to that of Greece in Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8, and to the Oriental in 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 4, chapter 4 verse 7.
All right, from there, go to the next page real quick. Let's skip through. We ain't gonna read everything. Start with go down. Start with the Greek philosophers. Go up top. Go up top. Start there.
The Greek philosophers, whose doctrines were also much cultivated by the Romans, may be divided into two classes. The first comprehended those whose tenets struck at the root of all religion, a species of atheists, who, while they profess to support and recommend the cause of virtue, in reality nourish the interests of vice, giving color to almost every kind of criminality.
So remember, these are the different philosophers and philosophies that's out during the time of Christ's birth. All right, go ahead. So you had your atheists, just like today, you got your atheists, right? They say there's no God. Go ahead.
The other was composed of such as acknowledged the existence of a deity, whom it was the duty of men to worship and obey, and who inculcated an essential and eternal distinction between good and evil, virtue and vice, but who nevertheless subverted these just principles by connecting with them various notions absurd or trifling in their nature.
Confusion, right? Read.
Under the first of these classes may be ranked the disciples of Epicurus.
So now we have the Epicureans. Read.
And those who passed under the name of academics.
So academics was another sect of philosophers. So now let's deal with the Epicureans real quick. Read that.
The Epicureans maintained that the universe arose out of a fortuitous concurrence of atoms.
Sounds like the evolution. The Big Bang Theory. Read it again.
The Epicureans maintained that the universe arose out of a fortuitous concurrence of atoms.
That's the Big Bang. That's the evolution, right? Read.
That the gods, whose existence they hesitated absolutely to deny.
So they deny that there was the existence of any God. Go ahead.
were totally indifferent and unconcerned about all human affairs.
Read.
Or rather entirely unacquainted with them, that our souls are born and die.
So the Epicureans held that our souls, our spirits, we are born and we just die, right? Go ahead.
That all things depend on and are determined by accident. That in everything voluptuous
So there's no coincidences with them. Everything is done by accident. Go ahead.
That in everything voluptuous gratification was to be sought after as the chief good.
So this is what I wanted to get to about the Epicureans. Read that part again right there.
That in everything voluptuous.
That in everything voluptuous. Look up the word voluptuous real quick. Let me show you something about the Epicureans. And we're going to bring it up to today. They were Greek philosophers.
Voluptuous. Curvaceous and sexually attractive, typically used of a woman. Definition 2.
Yeah, I want 2. Number 2.
Relating to or characterized by luxury or sensual pleasure.
So the Epicureans, all they cared about was pleasure. That was their thing. There is no God. There is no God. The world came about out of Adam's Big Bang. All right. All we do is we just be born and die. That's it. So why don't we just live our life out in pleasure? Right?
YOLO.
There you go. You jumping the gun. YOLO. You only live once. Sound familiar today? That's what our people say. You only live once. Go back to the page real quick. Go back to the page. Let's finish that out with the Epicureans.
That in everything voluptuous gratification was to be sought after as the chief good.
So gratification, voluptuousness, pleasure, is to be sought out after as the chief good. Where do our people seek gratification from now today? Matter of fact, look up the word gratification. We're going to look up some words. Gratification. Gratification. Bring that up. Read that.
Gratification. Pleasure, especially when gained from the satisfaction of a desire.
Read the second one.
A source of pleasure.
A source of pleasure. No matter how you get it, that's your gratification. However you get pleasure, that's your gratification. Some people seek pleasure today. Some people's gratification today is seeking likes on Facebook, on social media, on Instagram. These thoughts out here showing their bodies. Okay? That's the self-gratification today. Seeing what people think of you. Putting all your business out on social media and you waiting for that like to see what people think. Okay? Go back now to the page. Read.
That in everything voluptuous, gratification was to be sought after as the chief good.
So gratification for the Epicureans was to be sought after as the chief good. They just seek pleasure. That's it. No matter how they got it, that's what they did. Read.
And even virtue itself was only to be pursued, and as much as it might minister at the shrine of pleasure.
So virtue only came at the shrine of pleasure itself. Read.
The votaries of a system like this, which indeed include nearly all the children of prosperity.
So all the children of prosperity held the doctrine of the Epicureans. Why? Because you got money to seek pleasure. You're rich, right? Read.
The rich.
The rich, read.
The noble.
So now, today, you want to look at your rappers, look at your movie stars, look at your actors, or so forth. Okay, they are Epicureans today.
You know what that reminds me of? It says that virtue itself was only pursued in as much as it might minister at the shrine of pleasure, meaning they would only follow virtues when it benefited them. Just like feminism today.
Right.
They take all the benefits from feminism, but then they want the man to still pay and be strong and this and that.
Right. So they virtue that.
Yeah, that virtue they would follow because it benefits them, but they don't take anything else from the other virtues.
That's that self-gratification.
Yeah, the self-gratification.
So that's how whatever their pleasure was, they try to behind it. They try to justify it with some type of wisdom. Some, you know what I mean? Some wisdom came behind that particular pleasure. Okay, read on. The votaries.
The votaries of a system like this, which indeed include nearly all the children of prosperity, the rich, the noble, and the powerful, naturally study to pass their lives in one continued round of luxurious enjoyment.
You see that? And that's going on again today. You hear, and in Hollywood, you hear about these parties, these orgies that be going on. That's that you only live once type of lifestyle. That's the rich and famous lifestyle. Okay? These sex parties that some of these rappers say they went to, and they seen things that was going on, and they left, or they might have stayed, whatever the case is. You see these type of lifestyles with the rich and with the famous.
Hey,
got something?
Oh, sorry. Go.
I was about to say, officer, to the point of saying that, for one, this philosophy is coming from the Greco-Roman Empire. Can we get the script on that? Wisdom of Solomon 2? Or are we jumping the gun?
You jumping the gun. That's my neck. That's my. Yo, what's up with these brothers, man?
Dang.
These new brothers on the show, man.
I apologize, man.
Hey,
The wandering prophet.
Yeah, right.
My bad.
All praise. Go ahead.
I was gonna say something about when you saying the rich. I hope I'm not jumping the gun with this, but that's.
Let me be the judge of that.
All right, yes, sir. But it's going basically like how because you're talking about the rich. When Moses, when he was called the son of the Pharaoh's daughter.
Yep.
Then he decided to choose the afflictions of the people rather than the pleasures of sin.
Bring it out. Let's get that. Yes, all praises.
Got it right. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 24.
One second. Go ahead.
By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
Right. So Moses chose to choose the affliction, to endure the affliction with his people than the pleasures of sin. Why? Moses was the son of Pharaoh's daughter. Mm-hmm. So he was around all of that. Everything that the Egyptians was doing, Moses was around that. He could have had any woman he wanted.
Yes, sir.
Yo. Moses could have had any woman he wanted. Okay? Because why? As being the son of Pharaoh's, the son of Pharaoh, Pharaoh's adopted grandson, okay, all that pleasure of sin was around Moses. And every day he's seen that those type of pleasures and so forth. All right? So that's a good scripture. All praises. All right, let's go back. No, let's get
Real quick, officer. Where it says here that the children of prosperity, the rich, the noble, and the powerful naturally study to pass their lives in one continued round of luxurious enjoyment. Because what happens today, our people go get their degrees, they get good jobs, they study these things, which in a sense are noble things because you want to, increase knowledge. But what do they do it for? For sin. Right. So they can have more money to go what? Sin. So they can have more power to what? Sin. That's why they do it. They're covetous. That reminds me, give me Sirach 19. Mm-hmm. 28. Yes, sir.
The book of Sirach, chapter 19 and verse 28. And if for want of power he be hindered from sinning, yet when he findeth opportunity, he will do evil.
When he gets that power, when he gets that studious, that degree, that money, whatever power it is, he will what?
He will do evil.
He will do evil. And that's what our people do today. They want to get some kind of power or leverage, and it's not to benefit anybody, but only for their own pleasures. That's all it is. That's all they do it for.
Yeah.
They're selfish.
Right. All praises. Give me now get Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 5.
Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse 5. For our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end...
You can start at verse 1.
Yes, sir. Verse 1. For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright, our life is short, and readiest. And in the death of a man,
Man,
there
do
is...
not say readiest.
TVs.
Oh, I had my notes. Forgive my handwriting.
Back at it.
Yeah.
Verse 1. For...
Hey, I'm about to swap you out for Officer Manny.
Damn.
Oh, man. I don't know if that's good or bad.
However you want to take it. Nah, read it right. Come on.
Yes, sir. Verse 1. For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright, our life is short and tedious, and the death of a man, there is no remedy.
You see that? So the ungodly say within themselves, our lives are short and tedious. We just be born and we just die. Go ahead.
Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave.
See, we just born and die. No other man's been known to return from the grave. This is what the ungodly reasoning within themselves say. Go ahead.
For we are born at all adventure,
So we are born. Go ahead.
and we shall be hereafter as though we had never been.
And after that, when we die, that is it. Read.
For the breath in our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our heart.
Read.
Which being extinguished, our body shall be turned into ashes, and our spirit shall vanish as the soft air, and our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance, and our life shall pass away as the trace of a cloud.
You see that? We just live and we just die anyway.
That's very similar to the Sadducees. They didn't believe in the resurrection
Right.
or the,
So, yeah, we gonna get that.
mortality of the soul.
We're going to get that. But here, read that part again.
And our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our words in remembrance.
Read.
And our life shall pass away as a trace of a cloud.
You see that? So we just live, we just born, and we just die. So why don't we just have fun? I used to hear that. Yo, man, look, man, you only live, bro, you only born once, man. Enjoy yourself. All right? Enjoy yourself. Go ahead.
And shall be dispersed as a mist that is driven away with the beams of the sun, and overcome with the heat thereof. For our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning. For it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again.
Read, verse 6.
Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present.
So let us enjoy the good things that are present. The good things that are before us right now, let us enjoy that. YOLO, you only live once, man. Why don't you go ahead and smoke that weed? Why don't you, just smash any girl you want. Let's hit up these clubs, man. Let's look, we only live once. Read.
And let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds, because before they be withered.
Read.
And let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness.
You see that? With our pleasure. With our pleasure. Read.
Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion, and our lot is this.
So the ungodly, they say within themselves, this is all we got. Let's enjoy it. Because once we die, that's it.
So let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place. That's these brothers sexing up all these sisters.
Yeah.
Having kids with all these sisters. That's a sign of their
leaving them around.
joyfulness. Yeah. Yep.
Right. All right. From there. Give me Acts. No, we don't want that yet. Give me 1 Timothy 6 and 9. Because remember, it said the rich. It said the rich, the children of the no. It says the votaries of a system like this, which indeed included nearly all the children of prosperity, the rich, the noble, and the powerful, naturally study to pass their lives in one continual round of luxurious enjoyment. Give me 1 Timothy 6 and 9.
Yes, sir. The book of 1 Timothy, chapter 6 and verse 9. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drop men in destruction and perdition.
Read it again from the top.
But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition.
Right. I remember there was another movie that Bishop brought out a while back, and it was another movie from the 70s, and a sister, she wanted to become a singer, Or no, she wanted to be in the industry.
Actress.
An actress.
Stella got her new groove. Something like that.
Oh my God, you young as hell. I don't even know what movie is that.
I don't know.
Stella got her new groove.
You
blended something.
Like
Yeah. First off, I said a movie from the 70s.
Pray for me.
He said Stella got the movie you talking about is how Stella got her groove back.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I still don't know.
Millennials. All right. Anyway, the movie. Let me go back to what I'm talking about. So the movie that I'm referring to, the bishop brought out is that the sister wanted to become a actress, and she had to sleep with the producer, Edomite producer. She had to sleep with him, and then she said she thought that was it. He got up, had sex with her, got up and left the room. And then when she thought she put her clothes back on, there was a line of producers that was outside that was waiting to sleep with her, that she had to sleep with in order to make it in the industry. Okay? So read that again. So let you know that these things, this is what's happening. And you have sisters coming forward saying that they've done things and so forth in order to
get a part,
gain power.
Yeah, to gain power, or just to get a role as a credit. Just to get a role in a movie, man. Okay, read that again.
1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 9.
And it's crazy because you even got some men.
Yeah, I'm about to say, can we get a script on that?
Yeah, hold on 1 second. You even got some men that's coming forth saying that they have done things and so forth and so on, or have been raped, or whatever the case is. Okay. Go ahead. Read that again.
1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 9. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil.
It's all for the love of money. It's all for the love of money. That is the root of all evil. Being covetous. Okay? There's nothing wrong with having money. But when you become covetous after it, when it become your lust to get rich and die trying, when that's your motive, you're going to fall into temptation. Because what? You'll do anything. You'll do anything to get that money. There's a scripture in Sirach. You got it?
31 and 8.
Yeah. Get that real quick.
10 and 9, about the hurtful bowels. That's the one you looking for?
Yes.
Yeah, 10 and 9.
Oh, snap. Yeah, bring that out.
You said the rappers.
No. Go ahead.
It's all right, 10 and 9.
Sirach chapter 10 and verse 9.
Uh-huh.
Why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man.
So the Bible says there's not a more wicked thing than a covetous man who covets after whatever his lust is. Go ahead.
For such an one setteth his own soul to sell, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels.
Damn, butt rape. Now there's plenty. There's one guy, he came out. He said what the industry do.
Smart. The rapper Smart.
Smart, and there's another one. There's another one I watched with the industry. Now the industry, guess who's over all those industries? Amalek, so-called Jews. They run all of that.
It's an open secret.
Yeah, it's an open
secret.
yes, it is. It is an open secret what happens, and rappers are coming forth saying what really goes down. Okay, he said, look, they give you a BS record deal. Okay, why? Because you want to be a rapper. Everybody wants to be a rapper, so you get a BS record deal. They put the deal on the table. They say, yo, you look at the deal. They said, take that. No, he said, no. He said when you go to those parties, they slip something in your drink at that party. They slip something in your drink at that party, and then next thing you know, your behind is hurting. And he said, and then when you come to the table, you don't even know what happened to you. But he said when you come to the table to sign that deal, you see that deal is BS. You're like, yo, what the hell is this? And he's like, either you like what? You don't like that deal? He's like, nah, I'm not taking this. He's like, all right, play the video. Yo, press play on the video. Like, what are you talking about? You press play on the video. He's like, yo, what the hell? What is this?
Their bowels being touched.
You're right. You don't cast away your bowels. Why? Because you sold your soul. Why? To get that deal. After that money. Now you see that money ain't correct. Now now they show you the video. Now you in a position like, damn, I gotta sell my soul. I gotta sign this deal because this is gonna get out. What they did to me. So read that again, man.
Read it again.
Sirach chapter 10 verse 9. Why is earth and ashes proud?
Uh-huh.
There is not a more wicked thing than the covetous man. For such an one setteth his own soul to sell, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels.
Why? Because while he liveth, he cast away his bowels. Literally. All right. From there, give me Acts 17 and 18. Y'all have anything else?
Yeah, Sirach 31 and 8.
All right, go ahead, bring that up.
Yep. So our people, so that video won't come out. They will keep adding sin unto sin.
Right.
But they got to realize, we have the one true God. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So our people that are in that nonsense, don't be ashamed. Let that go. Get out of that lifestyle and repent. Repent and come to the Lord. Come and keep the commandments.
Right.
All right? Stop being more afraid of man and what people think. If that video come out, then what the Most High think of you. Because if you could come out of that and keep the commandments, the Most High will forgive you. That's all that matters. Read.
Sirach chapter 31 and verse 8. Blessed is the rich that is found without blemish,
Read.
and have not gone after gold.
Meaning your life is not revolved about trying to get rich. Trying to get rich or die trying. The Most High will make you rich if he wants you to. Mm-hmm. So blessed is the rich that has no blemish. Blessed is the rich that keeps the commandments, that keeps the law. So there's nothing wrong with being rich in itself. It's when you make your whole life revolve around those pleasures and riches and power. That's the problem.
Right. All right. From there, give me Acts 17, 18. Acts chapter 17, verse 18. Sorry.
The book of Acts, chapter 17 and verse 18.
Start at verse 1.
Verse 1. Now, when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of the Jews.
So in the city of Thessalonica, we had a synagogue there. Okay, there were Jews in Thessalonica. When Paul is in the 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians, he's talking to the Jews. That's who Paul is talking to. Read it again.
Now, when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures.
So Paul was reasoning with the Jews in Thessalonica out of the scriptures. Jump down to verse 10.
Verse 10. And the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night unto Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Jews.
Read.
These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily whether those things were so. Therefore many of them believed, also of honorable women, which were Greeks, and of men, not a few. But when the Jews of Thessalonica
So when it says Greeks, like we said in verse 1, okay, Thessalonica is where? In Greece. Who was in Greece and Thessalonica? Jews. We were there. So don't get caught up now because you see in verse 12, it says honorable women, which were Greeks, and of men, not a few. It's still talking about the Jews of Thessalonica. It never changed. Read on.
Verse 13. But when the Jews of Thessalonica had knowledge that the word of God was preached of Paul at Berea, they came thither also and stirred up the people. And then immediately the brethren sent away Paul to go, as it were to the sea. But Silas and Timotheus abode there still.
Now jump to verse 16 in Athens.
Verse 16. Now while Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred up in him, when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews and with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him.
Verse 18.
Then certain philosophers of the Epicureans.
Of who?
Of the Epicureans.
Of the Epicureans. Of the Epicureans. So we were in this philosophy. We was following this nonsense. And Paul had to deal with us. Go ahead.
Then certain philosophers of the Epicureans and of the Stoics encountered him, and some said, What will this babbler say? Others some, he seemeth.
So they call Paul a babbler. Go ahead.
Others some, he seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Jesus and the resurrection.
So they had some nerve to say that Paul had strange gods, but they're following pretty much evolution. They following the Big Bang Theory, right? Go ahead.
And they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, May we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is? For thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We will know therefore what those things mean. For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear some new thing.
That's all. Deep dummies. That's who they are. Deep dummies.
Jailhouse Negroes.
Jailhouse Negroes. We have a lot of jailhouse Negroes today. Okay? A lot of jailhouse Negroes today. Deep dummies. Just sitting around trying to sound deep. Okay? Trying to get an audience. Trying to get some views.
It's like when we at camp. You got 5% to come through and this and that.
Right.
The black man is God and...
Yeah, what's the math?
Yeah,
what's the math today? Math been the same.
Your math ain't math.
Yeah. What's your math, brother? But read verse 21 again.
Verse 21. For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear some new thing. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things ye are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription to the unknown God, whom therefore ye ignorantly worship, him declaring I unto you.
Right. So Paul seen an inscription that they had called the unknown God. All right. So our people was what? We was in Thessalonica, in Greece, okay, following these philosophies, these different philosophies of the Epicureans and of the Stoics. We was doing that. Just like our people are following these different philosophies, Egyptology. What are some other philosophies that's out there?
Sovereign citizen, right?
What is
sovereign
that? Citizen. Sovereign citizen with that
5%.
foolish hat. You got
Islam.
your 5%ers. Islam. Okay, so we still doing the same thing. We back doing the same thing all over again. All right. So we're gonna take a quick break. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break real quick, and we'll see you shortly. All right. Shalom. Shalom.
We fall, we break, we fail. And then we rise, we heal, we overcome. Road made us different, out here stomping. From Bourbon Street to Bill Barclays, BET Ponches, we keep it popping. Ease up, boys. Never giving up or giving in. We the prophets, better miss us with that nonsense. 80 Yale, really? You look silly, boxing God. Turkey, you can't stop this prophecy. Our aspirations different. This here kingdom's just a stop for me. Bishop had the vision, gave the mission, now it's policy. Aimed at exponential. Did we listen, nigga? Obviously, we IUIC. Why would I give up?
There's no man on the planet Earth that has opened the Bible and brought it out to the capacity that the bishop has done it. That's why I admire the man. That's why I'm friends with him. And that's why I trust him. Because the greatest book on the face of the planet Earth, the Lord put the Spirit on him to go through it. Take us to what you see in this world right now. Exactly everything you said is for our soul. We can build us up. We can be better leaders, better teachers. And we are here doing the hard work. But guess what? It's because God has chosen you to lead the flock.
Never give up. Never give up. I thank the Most High God for using me to pull me out of this wretched world. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again, the second time, to recover the remnant of his people.
It's you who don't know. It's you Afro-Syrians who don't know your history. And going to the other side of India, you see the Dalits as well as the Siddhis. Same thing on the Eastern Hemisphere. Mass incarceration, police brutality, lynchings, convict leasings. You
brothers and sisters in South Sudan, your heritage goes far deeper than where you live. You are the children of God.
Ein Herz, das arge Ränke, was sind
その頭と神の傾向
Eu arranjo tijd voor twee dingen te zeggen. Vamos poder suportar.
In français.
Laat je niet misleiden, dat is van onze people.
Shalom. I'm Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ, and today I'd like to present a sit-down discussion with the Jewish community. There's a lot of controversy. There's much hatred that you have towards us. We're the prophets of the one true God. So what we'd like to do is sit down with several of your leading Jewish personalities. The rest of you just stand by. Sit back, move out the way. We want to sit down with Yitzhak Yosef, who called black people monkeys. He's number one.
לא הכל כושים מברכים, אלא צריך שיהיה כושי שאבא שלו ואימא שלו לבנים. איפה אתה תדע? אם אתה יודע, תופעה שאתה יודע, ואתה יצא להם בן קוף, יצא להם בן ככה.
Number two, we like to sit down with Jonathan Greenblatt of the Anti-Defamation League. You have so much to say on the Breakfast Club in alluding that we have shot and murdered people in New Jersey. We want to sit down and discuss with you to produce your cause.
And look, they're entitled to their beliefs until that justifies shooting Jewish people with pellet guns on Staten Island. Or like, this is December. 3 years ago, December 2019, 2 black Hebrew Israelites went into a kosher supermarket in Jersey City and killed 3 people because they said they weren't real Jews.
Wow. Shot
them cold dead in a kosher supermarket.
Prove what those lies you have said. We want to sit down with the SPLC, Margaret Huang, and Beeson. You also pushed the lie that we have murdered people in New Jersey, so forth and so on. We want to sit down with APOC, Howard Core, and Lillian Pincus. Also, that latest group, the Canary Mission. We want to sit down with Adam Milstein and Howard D. Sterling.
When Tony asked about Canary Mission,
who are the people involved with them?
It's him. That's him.
Adam Milstein.
Yeah, I don't know who he hired to oversee it. Adam Milstein. He's the guy who funds it.
They are supposed to think that they're anti everything we believe in. We need to put them on the right.
So Adam Milstein, he funds the Israel Project and he's funding the Canary Mission website.
Yeah, which is interesting because it makes it seem as though we're a part of it, but we're not.
We'd like to sit down with all of you. If all, one for all and all for one, however you want to do it. But we will sit down with you. So don't say we're running from you, we're trying to evade you. No, we're not. Okay? Reach us, call us at 1-855-484-4842, extension 7023. Or by email, Israel@israelunite.org. All right? The scriptures say, if at all possible, be at peace with all men. And that's what we endeavor to do. So, Jewish community, have a sit down with us. Let's have an open discussion publicly. All right? Shalom.
More information is released about the death of Rasheem Carter. Communities are banding together to demand justice. 12 News' Tia McKenzie spent the day in Taylorsville as men and women gathered to protest against what they say is a failing justice system.
Hashtag Justice for Rasheem Carter has gained national attention after the 25-year-old's skeletal remains were found in Smith County in November 2022. His family's attorney said a third set of his remains were discovered in February and were identified by the Mississippi Crime Lab. A protest was held in Taylorsville in support of Carter's family.
It could have been one of my family members, so I feel that his family needs the support from everybody around.
Carter's family believes there was foul play, and civil rights attorney Ben Crump asked the Department of Justice to get involved.
This has really been a struggle for our family, but we're going to do the best we can to fight. We're going to do the best we can to fight. We're going to do what we got to do to get the justice that we deserve to have.
Multiple organizations, including Israel United in Christ, joined the march in solidarity.
I can imagine how much turmoil
that went through her mind, the pressure for her not to reveal the evils that has happened to her son. I imagine she's gained strength from Mamie Till, which was the mother of Emmett Till, who got murdered in 1955. So it was good to be able to support those kinds of efforts.
Participant Marcellus Smith drove from Memphis, Tennessee to support.
I heard about this a couple of months ago, and it made me think about myself being a young black African-American, and I drive trucks. I've driven in these areas before, and I can sense the tension. You know, once you get out your vehicle, everybody stop the conversation and just stare at you like you're not from here. You know, not here to fight or anything like that, just here to make a statement and hopefully get some justice done for Rasheen.
In March, officials with the Mississippi Department of Public Safety said based on the condition of Carter's remains, there was no means by which his cause of death could be determined by the medical examiner's office. In Taylorsville, Tia McKenzie, 12 News.
Now, DPS officials say MBI and the Smith County Sheriff's Office will continue their investigation into Carter's death.
It is not a coincidence, or I should say it's not a fluke accident that we are here again dealing with the same types of situation as we dealt in 1955.
Believe it or not, y'all, today is the Lord's Sabbath day. And you are the Israelites the Bible speaks of. We are God's chosen people. We went into slavery for breaking the commandments of God. It's like that we, who, the Israelites, you so-called Negroes that's in Taylorsville, Mississippi. You are the Israelites the Bible speaks of.
My brother's being chased. The tyranny and the fear that's going through his mind as he's trying to escape death. We do have justice coming. We do have justice coming. We would not be doing what we're doing if we did not believe that justice was coming. We know that there's a payback. We know that there's justice coming. And we're going to wait on the Lord like the scriptures say. You still need to remember what happened. You need to remember what happened to Rasheem Carter. You need to remember these things. Make it count.
Black Kings, baby! Black Kings!
No importa si Jesús era blanco, amarillo, azul o verde. Lo importante es que Cristo murió en la cruz.
Vamos a vivir en el reino de los cielos. Nosotros, pero nada nos importa.
Mira, va. La Biblia no dice mexicano. La Biblia dice Isaac, ¿no? Pues.
Jesucristo Wilson es un hombre negro, como tú, con piel bronce.
Interesante, me encanta, a mí me encantó. Me encantó, aprendí mucho y me gustó.
Y también escuche qué color que Cristo es.
Sí, negro.
We're not niggas and spicks. We're not Indians and Indians and savages and Mexicans. We're the 12 tribes of Israel. That's right. We should.
I appreciate you. I'm hoping that you notice I appreciate you. It make no sense when others wanna sing and hate you, but the real ones keep commandments, that's how we say thank you. Yeah, we appreciate we appreciate you. I'm so glad that the Most High had created you.
Passover 2023.
Ya llegaron los profetas con la Biblia en la mano. Yo no ocupo usar armas, con la Biblia estoy tirando la mirada hacia frente. Yo no.
Hey, shalom. We are back. All right. All praises. Now, let's go back to the history of the Christian church, and let's get the I think it's page. What page? We're not done with that book yet. I don't move too fast. Hey, let's read some more on the different philosophies. Go down to the I don't think we finished reading on it. Go back up to the Epicureans and go to the votaries again, the votaries of a system.
Yes, sir.
Read that.
The votaries of a system like this, which indeed include nearly all the children of prosperity, the rich, the noble, and the powerful, naturally studied to pass their lives in one continued round of luxurious enjoyment.
Read.
The only restraint they imposed on themselves arose out of a desire to avoid at all times such an excessive or immoderate addictedness to pleasures as might generate disease.
So that's the only time they kind of like, all right, this might give us a disease. Let's fall back a little bit. That's the only time they felt as though, all right, we're going too far. Go ahead.
Or tend in any other shape to abridge the capacity for future indulgence.
Right. Now, another sect of philosophers were called the academics around this time. Now, understand, these same philosophers and philosophies are back around again today. They ain't go nowhere. They just called by another name. That's it. Mm-hmm. Same doctrine, just another name. All right? Read.
The academics, though they affected to be influenced by wiser principles than the former, yet entertain maxims of an equally lax and pernicious tendency with them.
Read.
They were nearly allied to the skeptics. In fact, the main distinction lay in this, that whereas the skeptics contended that nothing should be it's blurred out, asserted to.
I think it's asserted. Go ahead.
But everything made the subject of dispute. The academics, on the contrary, maintain that our judgments should acquiesce in all things which bear the appearance of truth.
Jump down to where it says to make it. See?
Yes, sir. To make it, as they did, a matter of doubt and uncertainty, whether the gods existed or not, whether the soul was perishable or immortal, whether virtue was preferable to vice or vice to virtue.
Vice is evil. Okay, that's what vice is. So he said whether virtue, which is wisdom, was preferable to vice, or evil or vice to virtue. Go ahead.
Was certainly nothing less than to undermine the fundamental principles of religion and morality.
Read.
The academic system of philosophy fell into such disrepute as to be at one time quite neglected and nearly lost.
Right, because nobody was following that. Go ahead.
But Cicero revived it at Rome, a little before the birth of Christ. And so much weight was attached to his example and authority that it was soon embraced by all who aspired to the chief honors of the state.
All right, from there. Let me see. Go to the next page. Next page. Go down. Go down. All right, next page. That's it on that, right? On that page? All right, go. I know I gave you a couple pages here. Go with the Pharisees. Want the Pharisees now. Hey, right here. Blow that up. Blow it up. Go all the way to the bottom. You can read it. Go to the Sanhedrin. Start there.
The Sanhedrin, or National Council, being composed of men who differed in opinion respecting some of the most important points of religion, nothing like a general harmony was to be found amongst its members. On the contrary, having adopted the principles of various sects, they allowed themselves to be carried away by all the prejudice and animosity of party.
So Sanhedrin means, Sanhedrin was of the 70. Okay, there was 70 members of different tribes. All right, so you can read about the Sanhedrin and Josephus. They translated our scriptures into the Septuagint. All right, in Greek. All right, so they translated our Bible into Greek, called the Septuagint. Go ahead. What you about to say?
You think about it. It started back with Moses with the 70 elders.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
That's where it started.
All right. So the Sanhedrin was a council, a national council that we had of 70 of the 12 tribes. All right. 70 members. All right. Go ahead.
And were too often more intent on the indulgence of private pique than studious of advancing the cause of religion or promoting the public welfare. A similar depravity prevailed among the ordinary priests and the inferior ministers of religion. The common people, instigated by the shocking examples thus held out to them by those whom they were taught to consider as their guides, precipitated themselves into every species of vicious excess, and giving themselves up to sedition and rapine, appeared alike to defy the vengeance both of God and man.
All right. Now read this part right here.
There were at that time two prevailing systems of religion in Palestine.
So now we dealing with what was going on in our homeland. So we dealt with the first part of the philosophers and philosophy that was going on in the world itself during the Roman Empire. Now what we dealing with is what was going on in our homeland during the time of Christ's birth. Read.
There were at that time two prevailing systems of religion in Palestine.
So there were two prevailing systems of religion at the time of Christ's birth. Read.
The Jewish and the Samaritan.
So the southern kingdom and northern kingdom. The circumcision and the uncircumcision. Go ahead.
And what contributed not a little to the calamities of the Hebrew nation. The followers of each of these regarded...
Wait. It says there were at that time two prevailing systems of religion in Palestine, the Jewish and the Samaritan. Why? What happened? You got to go back into the Old Testament to find out what happened. Why is it we all the same people? So why was it two prevailing systems? Okay, why? Because of the split that happened. Okay, you can read about that in 2 Kings. We're not going to get it. In 1 Kings, I'm sorry. You can read about the split. That's why it was two prevailing systems. Okay, go ahead.
And what contributed not a little to the calamities of the Hebrew nation. The followers of each of these regarded those of the other persuasion with the most virulent and implacable hatred, mutually venting their rancorous animosity and the direct curses and imprecations.
Wait, read that part again. And what contribute not a little?
And what contributed not a little to the calamities of the Hebrew nation. The followers of each of these regarded those of the other persuasion with the most virulent and implacable hatred.
So there was much hatred between the northern kingdom, the sects of the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom.
Like that sister told Christ in John,
right?
Hey, the Jews don't deal with us.
Jews do not deal with us. All right, go ahead.
Mutually venting their rancorous animosity and the direct curses and imprecations.
Read.
The nature of the Jewish religion may be collected from the books of the Old Testament. But at the time of Christ's appearance,
read.
It had lost much of its original beauty and excellence, and was corrupted by errors of the most flagrant kind, that had crept in from various sources.
Why? We just read about the different philosophies and so forth that was creeping in. You had our people was becoming Hellenized. We was already Hellenized.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of different doctrines from these other nations started creeping in. All right. So that's why our scriptures and so forth started being corrupted. Okay. Different sources started creeping in. Like it says, read that part again.
But at the time of Christ's appearance, it had lost much of its original beauty and excellence, and was corrupted by errors of the most flagrant kind that had crept in from various sources. The public worship of God was indeed still continued in the Temple of Jerusalem, with all the rites of the Mosaic institution, and their festivals never failed to draw together an immense concourse of people at the stated seasons. Nor did the Romans ever interfere to prevent those observances.
Right. So the Romans, they didn't interfere. They let us, like you had Julius Caesar and Augustus. They let us, to some certain extent, they let us keep our high holy days and so forth. All right. So we was allowed to keep our high holy days. We was allowed to keep our laws. They didn't mess with us. Okay, like that. Go ahead.
And domestic life,
the Most High gave us favor. Okay, he gave us favor. Read.
In domestic life also, the ordinances of the law were in general punctually attended to, but it is manifest from the evidence adduced by various learned men.
All right, you could next page. Look at the next page. Go all the way to the bottom. Yep. No. Right here. Yep. Read that.
But though the Jews certainly entertained many sentiments more rational and correct than their neighbors, sentiments which they had adopted from their own scriptures, yet they had gradually incorporated with them so large a mixture of what was fabulous and absurd, as nearly to deprive the truth of all its force and energy.
Listen, we did that everywhere we went. Okay, even when we fled into Africa, we still had some notion of keeping God's laws. But guess what? Being amongst other nations, things start to creep in. Different fables and different doctrines and heresies start to creep in. Okay, just like even over here on this side, over here in America, when you had our forefathers of the tribe of Gad, okay, the Native American Indians. We was keeping the laws over here. But through generation to generation, guess what? Idolatry started creeping in. And it didn't take long. Okay? Idolatry started, go ahead.
They had that worship of nature and all that too.
Right.
They got from the Assyrians.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so we still kept. It was also that's why the Most High told us not to mess with these other nations. Because why? The other nations would do what? They would turn us away from the Most High. Okay? Read on.
Hence the many pointed rebukes which Jesus Christ gave to the scribes and Pharisees, the prime leaders of religion in his day, telling them that they taught for doctrines the commandments of men, and that they had made the divine law void through their traditions.
Who dropped the bomb on that? Hey, give me the next page. Next page. Let's get to the Pharisees. Next page. All right, at the bottom here. The bottom. Come on. Right there, Pharisees.
The Pharisees, in point of number, riches, authority, and influence, took precedence of all the Jewish sects. And as they constantly manifested an extraordinary display of religion and an apparent zeal for the cultivation of piety and brotherly love, and by an affectation of superior sanctity in their opinions, manners, and dress, the influence which they possessed over the minds of the people was unbounded.
So remember, they had those phylacteries and so forth. They had those garments that the fringes was blown, when the wind was blowing, they had those garments that they fringes just flowed in the wind. Okay, so they had some bad garments on, all right? But guess what? They appeared righteous on the outside. That's what Christ is referring to in Matthew 23. Okay, read that part again. Read in the beginning part. The Pharisees, this is the Pharisees in point of number.
Yes, sir. The Pharisees, in point of number, riches, authority, and influence, took precedence of all the Jewish sects.
So they were the top Jewish sect at the time. Go ahead.
And as they constantly manifested an extraordinary display of religion and an apparent zeal for the cultivation of piety and brotherly love.
And an apparent zeal for the cultivation of piety and brotherly love. Apparently. Go ahead.
And by an affectation of superior sanctity in their opinions, manners, and dress, the influence which they possessed over the minds of the people was unbounded.
Read.
And so much that they may be almost said to have given whatever direction they pleased to public affairs. It is unquestionable, however, that the religion of the Pharisees was, for the most part, founded in consummate hypocrisy.
Read.
And that in reality, they were generally the slaves of every vicious appetite.
So they were slaves of every vicious appetite. Read on.
Proud.
They were proud.
Arrogant.
The Pharisees was arrogant.
And avaricious.
Why? Because they're the rich. They're the leaders. Apparently. Right? So they're proud. They were arrogant. Go ahead.
And avaricious.
Read.
Consulting only the gratification of their lusts.
Sound like they had a doctrine of the Epicureans. Right? So maybe the Epicurean doctrine crept in. Because that's the same doctrine. Go ahead. They were all about themselves, self-gratification.
That's why Christ said, told the people, do what they tell you, but don't do what they do.
Don't do what they do.
Because they studied the law, this and that, but they didn't apply anything to their life.
Remember, the Epicureans, it said that doctrine was only for what? The rich?
For their self-pleasure, the nobles, the rich, those that studied these things was for their own pleasure.
Well, for their own pleasure. All right, go ahead.
The gratification of their lusts, even at the moment of their professing themselves to be engaged in the service of their Maker.
Right. Go ahead.
These odious features in the character of the Pharisees drew upon them the most pointed rebukes from our Lord and Savior.
Right.
With more severity indeed than he bestowed on the Sadducees, who, although they had departed widely from the genuine principles of religion,
You can drop that. Now, the Pharisees. Where did the Pharisees come from? What were their origin? What were they named before they were called Pharisees? Okay, so let's get into that real quick. Let's get into that. Give me pull that page up. Blow it up. Go back to where you was at before. Let me see. Read 120 real quick.
120. Hyrcanus repudiates the Pharisees and declares himself a Sadducee.
So the Pharisees were around during the time of John Hyrcanus. You had a page on this, right?
I have actually, they were around, but they really started with Simon the Just.
Okay.
Remember we read about him in Sirach 50. We want to get into that now?
Yeah, we about to go into the origin where they started from.
Yeah.
Go down.
The Pharisees. Two political parties emerged.
Uh-huh.
The scribes who were opposed to expansion was the Pharisees, from parosh, to separate.
So Pharisee means to separate. All right, that's what it means, to separate. Go ahead.
Separated from the pagans or separated from those that favored expansion.
Read.
The Pharisees, spiritual descendants of the Hasidim.
So the Pharisee was spiritual descendants of the Hasidim. We're going to go more into that. Go ahead.
Argued that their religion saved the Jewish people.
Right. All right. From there, now let's get First Maccabees chapter 2 verse 42. You have your page?
Yeah, it's on the.
All right. Get the officer's page real quick. Matter of fact, let's read this first.
Yeah, let's read that first. Yeah.
First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 42.
1 second.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 42. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel.
Hey, so to bring you up to speed, this is the book of the Maccabees. Okay, the Maccabees. You had their father. Jump to verse
27.
Yeah, verse 27.
Verse 27. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying...
So there was a revolt. Okay, there's a revolt against the Greeks, against Esau, the white man. Okay, we had a revolt. Read.
And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law.
So whosoever is zealous of the law, read.
And maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
So there was a revolt, an insurrection. Read.
So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there.
Hey, guess what? The leadership ain't been bringing all this out for nothing. Okay, everything that the bishop been going over, we were going to end up going back through this. All right? So that's why the leadership is telling us to prepare ourselves. Because this is going to happen again. Where we might have to flee into, we might have to flee to wherever we got to flee. Into wherever. Wilderness. Yeah, the wilderness, wherever. Mm-hmm. Okay? Be on fugitives, on the run.
Pilgrims on the earth.
Pilgrims on the earth. Leave everything behind. All right? Read on.
Verse 29. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there.
Now jump to 40, go back.
Yes, sir. Verse 42. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians.
So then came and joined Mattathias and his sons, a company of Assyrians. Read.
Who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law.
So the Assyrians were voluntarily devoted to the law. Okay, the Assyrians. Who were the Assyrians? Give me the page. Get me page History of the Jews, page 435. 435. The Assyrians. Read that. Blow it up. All the way at the bottom.
As has repeatedly occurred in the history of thinking nations, lack of moderation on the one side brought forth exaggeration on the other. Those Judeans who saw with pain and rage the attempts of the Hellenists grouped themselves into a party which clung desperately to the law and to the customs of their fathers and cherished them as the apple of their eye. They were the community of the pious, or Chassidim.
Or Chassidim or Assyrians. Same thing. Chassidim or Assyrians or Hasidim. Read.
A development of the Nazarites.
So they were of a development of the Nazarites. Read.
Every religious custom was to them of inviolable sanctity.
Okay. Look up that word inviolable. 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 It says every custom to them was an inviolable sanctity. Look that up.
Inviolable, never to be broken, infringed, or dishonored.
Get some synonyms.
Inalienable, absolute, untouchable.
Read.
Unalterable, unchangeable, unbreakable, impregnable, sacrosanct, sacred, holy, hallowed.
All right, so let's go back. Read again.
They were the community of the pious, or Chassidim, a development of the Nazarites. Every religious custom was to them of inviolable sanctity.
So every religious custom was to them of an inviolable, unbreakable, untouchable sanctity. Go down to the bottom. Between the two?
Between the two widely opposed parties, the Hellenists and the Chassidim or Assyrians.
You see that? So Chassidim or Assyrians, they're one and the same. They're the same. Okay, just the names is just interchangeable. Same people. Chassidim or Assyrians. Read.
The people took a middle course. They certainly took delight in the luxuries and refinements of life introduced by the Greeks, and did not care to have their pleasures narrowed by the severe Chassidim.
All right. From there. All right, get off to your Ken's page.
That's crazy. That sounds like us today.
Right. Bring that up.
Not that one. The other one y'all had before, Officer Jez. Yeah, that one.
There were amongst the nations some overpious people who took the vow of the Nazarites to refrain from wine for a given time. They called themselves, or were called, the strictly pious Chassidim. When the term of their vows had expired, they cut off their hair and went through all the ceremonies. Perhaps the excesses of the Greeks and their Jewish followers, their numerous feasts and orgies induced them to impose upon themselves this Nazaritic abstention with its attendant rites. It is certain that as the number of pleasure-seeking imitators of Greek habits increased in Judea, so did also that of the Chassidim. But Simon the Just was not pleased with this exaggerated zeal and took no part in the sacrifices of the Nazarites.
So that Simon that's being mentioned there is the Simon the Just that we read about in Sirach 50. So they were around his time, but he wasn't with all that. They were overzealous and they were overdoing it. Just like you read about basically in the New Testament, they were seeming righteous, even though they weren't wicked at this time because they were going against the Greekish customs. But Simon, being the high priest at the time, he was noticing like, all right, y'all doing too much, and I'm not really with that. Right. So that started all the way at that. That's around like 300 BC, when Seleucus, one of the first generals of Alexander the Great, took over Syria in that region.
Hey, read the first part again. There were amongst the nation.
There were amongst the nation some overpious people who took the vow of the Nazarite to refrain from wine for a given time. Mm-hmm. They called themselves, or were called, the strictly pious Chassidim. When the term of their vows had expired, they cut off their hair and went through all the ceremonies.
Right. So the Assyrians, or the Chassidim or Hasidim, they did mean well. Mm-hmm. You know, they did mean well before they started being corrupted. Okay. So they did mean well. They were but they was very zealous. Now, as we read on the scriptures, we see how zealous they were. All right. Let's go back to the scriptures. First Maccabees.
Yes, sir.
That's all. You had another page?
Now we could read about John Hyrcanus too.
All right, bring that up.
He was part of their learning too. That was the other ones y'all brought out. The white ones the white pages I just posted.
All right, bring that up.
Could you read Sirach 50, verse 1?
Yep.
You read that real quick. Just the Bible touches on Simon. That Simon we just read about. Sirach 50, verse 1.
Yes, sir. The book of Sirach, chapter 50 and verse 1. Simon, the high priest, the son of Onias, who in his life repaired the house again, and in his days fortified the temple.
So that's the same Simon we just read about in that book. Simon, the high priest. Now let's go back to the page with John Hyrcanus. Yep.
As this sect was already held in veneration by the people on account of their sanctity.
So this sect they're talking about is the Chassidim, or the Pharisees, as we know them today. Read.
Hyrcanus wished to gain them over to his own interests.
So this is when John Hyrcanus took the throne. Read.
For he himself had been brought up in their discipline, and professing himself to be of their number, had always patronized them to the utmost of his power.
We just read about how the Assyrians and the Maccabees, they were always together. So John professed to be part of their number because he learned along with them. They were all zealous. Read.
He therefore invited all the leaders of the sect to a feast, and then addressing them said that his purpose ever had been to serve God and do justly towards man, according to the doctrine of the Pharisees. But knowing the frailty of men, he wished now to hear from them whether they had observed any.
Oh, yeah, next page. So basically now he's seeking counsel. He's not doing things on his own, all right? So next page, the next white one. Because I remember we just read something about how John Hyrcanus became a Sadducee, right?
Right.
This is going to go into that and what happened. So he came to the Chassidim. I only posted one. I'll post the next one. Actually, the ones I just go all the way down, all the way to the bottom. No? I'll get it. So basically, let me post it right now.
Hey, while he doing that, get the Wikipedia real quick on Simon the Just. Simon the Just, just to give y'all a little background on Simon the Just real quick. Wikipedia, Simon the Just.
Did you?
You have to go to the Wikipedia.
Yeah, go on the webpage.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get them confused with Simon the Second.
Yeah, we're gonna clear that up right now.
Simeon the Righteous, or Simeon the Just, was a Jewish high priest during the Second Temple period. He is also referred to in the Mishnah, where he is described as one of the last members of the Great Assembly.
Hey, before we read on, do y'all have the page with Alexander?
With the dream you had?
Yes, y'all should have that. Do you have that? With the dream that Alexander had. I remember we went over that a couple shows back. When we went into Alexander the freak.
Alexander the freak.
Yeah, he don't get the great from us.
No.
Alexander the Greek or the freak. No, it's a page. It's from History of the Jews. It's out of History of the Jews. Try to pull that up. Bear with us real quick.
Volume 1, right?
Yes, History of the Jews, Volume 1. It should be in the page 400s with Alexander. In the 400s. All right, let me see. All right, getting close. That's the only page?
So page 413?
It's in the 400s. That's it? Try what's 413 say? Nah, it's a different book. All right.
I think I got something here. I'm going to send it to y'all.
Hold on. You got it. Let me see. Yeah. Yep. Blow it up.
You got it.
Now, first, don't pull it up yet. Go back to the Wikipedia. We're going to read that first, and then we're going to get this page. Just to bring y'all back up to speed. I know y'all forgot. I know how Israel is. They forget. Okay? So all we doing is just piecing together the puzzle. Now read that again.
Simeon the Righteous, or Simeon the Just, was a Jewish high priest during the Second Temple period. He is also referred to in the Mishnah, where he is described as one of the last members of the Great Assembly.
Go down.
According to Josephus, Simeon the Righteous, or Simon I, 310 to 291 or 300 to 273 BCE, son of Onias the First.
So he was son of Onias the First. Read.
And grandson of Jaddua.
And grandson of Jaddua. Read.
Many statements concerning him are variously ascribed by scholars, ancient and modern, to 4 different persons who bore the same name.
All right. So remember, it says, according to Josephus, Simeon the Righteous is Simon the First, son of Onias the First, and grandson of Jaddua. Okay, now, get me the page real quick. Who was Jaddua?
I could read the bottom of Nehemiah 12 and 11.
Okay.
Jaddua. Verse 22.
Blow it up. Start at the high priest.
The high priest, so it is related, dressed in his holy garments, followed by a troop of priests and Levites, went forth to meet...
Wait, hold on. We missing a page. You got a page before that? That's it, right?
You want the previous page?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send it to him right now.
No, you know what? Just read on. We don't need it. I'm sorry. Start at there is no doubt. There is no doubt.
There is no doubt that the story of Alexander's approach to Jerusalem and the favors which he heaped upon the Judeans in consequence of a peculiar vision rests upon a legend. The high priest, so it is related, dressed in his holy garments, followed by a troop of priests and Levites, went forth to meet the youthful warrior.
So Alexander, as he was conquering, going on his conquest, he entered into Jerusalem. Our capital. Read.
And produced so great and extraordinary an effect upon him.
But before he did that, Alexander had a dream before he even went to Jerusalem. Right? Go ahead.
That his anger was at once changed into kindness and goodwill.
Read.
The explanation given by Alexander to his followers was that the high priest, thus attired, had appeared to him in a dream which he had in Macedonia, and had promised him victory. According to one legend, it was the high priest Jaddua.
So it was the high priest Jaddua that met with Alexander the Freak. No bomb. All right, let's go.
According to another, his grandson Simon.
And according to another, it was either Jaddua or his grandson Simon, which Officer Yakin was bringing out as Simon the Just. Simon the Just or the Simon the First. All right, go ahead.
Who produced this effect upon the Macedonian hero.
Read.
In reality, the meeting between Alexander and the envoys of the Judean community no doubt passed simply and naturally enough. The high priest, perhaps Onias I, Jaddua's son and Simon's father, went forward like the kings and the princes of the land, with a suite of the elders to do homage and swear allegiance to the conqueror.
So what they're saying is, it's either Jaddua, okay, or Jaddua's son Onias, or Onias' son, or his Jaddua's grandson Simon the Just that met with Alexander. It's one of the three. It's one of the three that met with Alexander. But Alexander had a vision of one of the three coming to meet him. Okay? All right? From there.
This same Simon, he's the great-grandfather of the Onias that we read about that was killed by Andronicus.
Okay.
In Maccabees.
All right. So, from there. Let's go back. You could drop that Wikipedia. You drop the Wikipedia now.
We go back to John Hyrcanus?
Yep.
I set the second page over. The one before that. Yeah.
Hey, while he getting that, read on about the, did you have it?
Yeah, it's there.
All right.
Let's read back, let's get like the first sentence, the last sentence on the other page. Yeah, I know it's a lot. Yeah, just to get a little recap. Yeah, at the bottom.
He wished now to hear from them whether they had observed any.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Anything defective in his conduct, that he might amend it, all united in giving him unqualified praise, except an old austere man by the name of Eleazar, who sternly said, if you would approve yourself a just man, quit the high priesthood and content yourself with the civil government.
So here, John, he came to the priesthood and he's asking for counsel. Everybody's saying he's all right. You're doing everything good. But there was one man called Eleazar. He's like, yo, if you want to approve yourself, don't be the high priest. Read.
Upon being asked why he gave this advice, he said, because we have it from good authority, that your mother was a captive, in consequence of which you are incompetent to hold the office by the law of Moses.
So you see what happened. So they were being over pious. They were being overzealous in their strictness. That was an issue that slowly started creeping in, which we now see with the Pharisees in the New Testament. So what happened with the history said his mom was a captive because his uncle took his father and his mother into prison when he took, I think it was Aristobulus, the first at that time. But anyways, let's keep reading.
Hyrcanus was much displeased, but receiving it as the ill saying of an individual, he intended to take no further notice of it. But Jonathan, a Sadducee and an intimate friend, insisted that Eleazar merely expressed the sentiment of the whole sect and suggested that this could be put to the test by convening them again and requiring them to declare what punishment this man deserved by reviling God's high priest.
So let's skip down. So he was talking to his one friend that was a Sadducee. Read where you see Hyrcanus is kind of cut off.
Yes. Hyrcanus was so much offended with the whole sect, especially as his mother's fame was called in question, that from the day he forsook them and went and joined the Sadducees.
So there you go. He joined the Sadducees. He was tired of the nonsense that the Pharisees were doing. They were being overzealous and too strict. Can we get to how he imposed restrictions on them?
Yes, and then we're gonna finish up with
There's
go back to First Maccabees.
Yeah, there's another page that talks about how his daughter-in-law, after his son died. Yeah, I think. Let me see that page. Yeah, there we go. Yep, that's it.
When she had settled herself firmly on the throne.
So this she is the daughter-in-law of John Hyrcanus. His son had died, so she had taken the throne. Right? Read.
She made her eldest son Hyrcanus high priest. And to gratify her new friends, the Pharisees, she repealed the edict of John Hyrcanus, in which he forbade their attention to traditions, restored them to all their former privileges, and released all that her husband had confined in prison.
So he had imprisoned some of them because they were being too crazy with their traditions. He had limited them. He had put restrictions upon them. Like, yo, you can't do this. You can't. Y'all being too zealous. So then she came into power and she removed all their restrictions.
So now they back to bugging out again.
Yep. They have no order, no rule.
Right, no order, no rule. We doing whatever.
Yep.
All right, now let's go back to First Maccabees chapter 2. Let's finish that up.
Yes, sir. First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 42. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen for succor.
So this is when the Pharisees, who were called Assyrians at this time, this is when they had some sense.
Yep.
They were in their right mind. All right, go ahead.
Then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars. And what children soever they found within the coasts of Israel, uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly.
You see that? Those they circumcised valiantly. Those they circumcised valiantly. Keep that word in mind. Circumcised. All right. Jump back to verse 27 real quick.
Verse 27. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law.
Remember, whosoever is zealous of the law. Over pious. Well, the Assyrians, they were over pious. But at this time, he said, whosoever is zealous of the law, follow me, right?
You know what this reminds me of? That saying the leadership brings out, that hard times create strong men.
Yes.
That's what happened. Those hard times with the Greeks under Antiochus Epiphanes made these strong men that were zealous for the law.
Right.
But then once they got power and the Hasmoneans were in, the weak men started coming in.
You know why? Luxury.
Yep, luxury.
Luxury, self-gratification, comfort.
Yep.
Okay, so, we the rich now. We on top. They forgot about those hard times.
Yep.
That's what happened.
They got tainted.
They got tainted. Forgot about the hard times. Now, the weak men started coming in. Because these are the Assyrians, remember, did we bring out, get me History of the Jews, page 77, real quick. History of the Jews, page 77. Blow that up.
Their religious views. Nowadays, Pharisees or Sadducees are rarely spoken of as political parties, but almost always as religious parties. Such being the case, it is important to know just how the two groups differed from one another in their religious views. In general, it may be said that each group drew a different conclusion from the Maccabean Wars.
Read.
The Pharisees, spiritual descendants of the Hasidim.
So understand, read on, read the whole thing.
The Pharisees, spiritual descendants of the Hasidim, argued that their religion had saved the Jewish nation.
So the Pharisees were spiritual descendants of the Hasidim. Now, like Officer was bringing out about how at that time, these strong men, this is hard times, the Assyrians. Now, generations and generations, the Assyrians, which became the Pharisees, they became weaker. Because now the weak men are coming up, the new generation, which are the weak men. Okay, why? Because the Assyrians, they already created the what? Hey, get that quote. Who could pull that quote up?
Yeah, because the Hasmoneans came into power. So now
Right.
we were ruling.
We were ruling.
Yep. And then they became weak.
Get that
Tough
quote real
times
quick.
came, and then that's when you had Christ and the disciples come through.
And that's
the
what
strong
happened.
men again.
Pharisees on top. Okay, they they the rich. They got bad garments.
Here we go. Yep, that's the same right there.
That's like when Deuteronomy said, "Jeshurun wax fat."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the quote, read that.
Hard times create strong men.
So the hard times was, guess what? When we had to flee, the revolt, the Maccabean revolt, that was hard times. We had to jump. We had to get up out of here. Why? Because the Greeks was after us, man. Okay, but Mattathias was they were strong men at that time that led us. All right, go ahead.
Strong men create good times.
And at that time, you had the Assyrians who were strong men at those hard times, who were zealous of the law, who circumcised valiantly. Read.
Good times create.
No, go back to strong men create good times.
Strong men create good times.
And guess what? After those hard times that created those strong men, generation after generation, those strong men created good times. Go ahead.
Good times create weak men.
And that's when the Pharisees came in. They became those weak men that forgot about those hard times. Read.
Weak men create hard times.
And now they created the hard times on our people. All right. Now, drop that. Let's get to the New Testament on the Pharisees. Give me Acts chapter 15. We're going to close it out here. Remember, circumcised. Remember that.
Yes, sir. The book of Acts, chapter 15 and verse 1.
Hold on, let me get there.
Yes, sir.
Read.
Acts chapter 15 and verse 1. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, Except ye be circumcised.
Read.
After the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved.
So their hang up was, you got to be circumcised, or else you cannot be saved. You got to be circumcised after the manner of Moses. Go ahead.
When therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question.
Jump down to verse 5.
Verse 5. But there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees, which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them.
Come on, read it right. Come on, read.
Sorry. But there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees, which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them, and to command them to keep the law of Moses.
So why was, now in the New Testament, when Christ is on the scene, why was the hang-up about circumcision? Why was the hang-up about circumcision? Why? Because guess what? The Pharisees derived from the Assyrians, who were zealous of the law, who circumcised valiantly. They kept that tradition about circumcision after the law of Moses. So they couldn't see Christ. They didn't care about Christ coming on the scene. Their whole thing was, look, you got to be circumcised. Why? That was handed down all the way from the Assyrians. They valiantly circumcised. Okay? Over pious. Zealous of the law. Okay? So that's why now you read about the Pharisees in the New Testament. They hang up was, yo, you got to be circumcised the law of Moses. Okay? From there. Give me Acts 23. We're going to close it out here. Acts 23 verse 8. Acts chapter 23, verse 8. What did the Pharisees and Sadducees believe in? Read that.
The book of Acts, chapter 23 and verse 8. For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection.
So the Sadducees say there is no resurrection. Go ahead.
Neither angel nor spirit.
So he said there is no resurrection. What'd that sound like? The Sadducees sound like the what? The Epicureans. Because they believe you just born, you just die. Okay, you only live once. Go ahead.
But the Pharisees confess both.
So the Sadducees say there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit. So what they believe in? Sound like evolution. they don't believe in no resurrection. They don't believe there's no angels. They don't believe there's no spirit. Go ahead.
But the Pharisees confess both.
But the Pharisees confess both. Okay, resurrection, angel, and spirits. They confess both of those. All right. Read on.
Verse 9. And there arose a great cry, and the scribes that were of the Pharisees' part arose, and strove, saying, We find no evil in this man. But if a spirit or an angel have spoken to him, let us not fight against God.
All right. So Israel, we're going to close it out there. I hope y'all got something out of the class. All right. All praise to the Most High. Stay tuned for OHH next week. We're going to jump into the birth of Christ. We're going to jump into the birth of Christ. And we're also going to delve into the virgin birth. We're going to go into the virgin birth. All right. So we're going to deal with Herod, what happened with the massacre of the innocent, as they call it. All right. And we're going to deal with the virgin birth. All right. So stay tuned for class next week. All right. Officer Abaddon?
Hey, Israel, let's give leadership another hand for that class. All praise the Most High. All praise the Most High. Israel, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Our Hidden History Radio. Hit the notifications button so you know when we can go live. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channels, IUIC Philadelphia and IUIC Philadelphia in the Classroom to get the latest camp videos from our captain and officers of IUIC Philly. You can donate to the show on PayPal to IUIC.Philadelphia@IsraelUnite.org. In the comment section, put OHH. You can also donate to the Booster Club on PayPal to IUIC.fundraising@IsraelUnite.org. Donate to the Land Fund on PayPal to Israel@IsraelUnite.org. And last but not least, subscribe to IUIC TV to get exclusive content from the leadership of IUIC. And next up, tune in to Raven and Wolves with Deacon Malachi.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to, as you see, Captain Joel. I want to give a shout out to him. He out doing the work. Officer LaQuac, Captain Haim, Officer LaQuac. Okay, they out doing the work. So all praises to the Most High for our leadership. All right. Hey. And shout out to our leadership, the bishops, the deacons, the captains, man. All right, fellow officers, soldiers, everybody that's putting their brick in this truth. Okay, sisters. All right.
The sisters in the kitchen.
Yeah, we also want to thank the men behind the camera. Behind the camera, IT. All right. All of our IT, we have, our original IT, they not all here today. So the men that's handling the IT today, but they are here.
Yeah,
they here.
I think with less people, everything ran a lot smoother, right?
Hey, Officer Abaddon begged the deferral now.
No? That was some bombs.
Yeah, we right. We missing the bombs. But want to give a shout out to the sisters, man. Breakfast was great.
Yes.
All praises. Breakfast was great. All right. With that, I'm going to say shalom.
Shalom, Israel.
Shalom.